small time world interactions you miss out because you're just fast traveling everywhere. But I don't know. Convenience over like necessity and stuff like that. It's a terminalist argument because a lot of people will just stick their foot down and they're not like budge. Like, fast travel is necessary. I need it in every single game. And other people are like, it's not that bad to walk from one place to another. Like, Witcher 3, you having to go to a signpost of fast travel. Like, it gives you time to explore the world. There's lots of monsters to fight. Like, you can fast travel, but you just have to get to the spot where you can fast travel, which isn't bad. I mean, there is a way to fast travel in Skyrim without having to, like, click on a location on the map and travel to that location. You just go to the carriage at the stables and use the carriage to go to one of the major cities. I mean, it gives you a wide range. There's, what, 5 or 6 major cities in Skyrim, and they each cover like a good section of the map with surrounding area with things to do, locations, quests, things like that. Like, you never really don't run out of things to do. So like, fast traveling, it's a necessity and also it's not. It's also a convenience and also it's not. It's kind of fucking in the middle. And it always will be. It's never going to change.
It was something new. Things developed. In the Oblivion video, I discussed this response, explaining that I believe this to be invalid, because 1 hour of travel in Morrowind is the same, if not oftentimes better, than 1 hour of instantly teleporting between dungeons and quest locales in Oblivion. As you can see, there was a dialogue. Now, what would happen if I did not do that? If I took the common road of simply preaching with an authoritative voice? In that instance,
yeah, always take every idea, everyone's arguments into account. Don't just preach your idea and say everyone else is fucking stupid for theirs. Granted, there's some stupid fucking opinions, but, you know, like, take into account. The argument has a basis to it. There's a reason why they have that argument, and like whether it's from experience or from like something like either an experience from the game or experience from other games or experience from life, like there's always a base ground level of that argument that you yourself can point out and talk about, and then use that to reaffirm your own argument. Also, just to build a brighter, like a broader range of like topic of discussion instead of just being a mindless sheep of your own doing, of just spouting the same fucking nonsense non-stop without taking others' opinions into account. Granted, you don't have to listen to their opinion, but you should. There's always something to glean from everything, even if it's like gleaming, oh, this person's stupid, they don't know what they're talking about. Like, sometimes you get just that, but there's always something you can latch on to and take for yourself in any conversation. Like, there's no reason not to listen to other people's stuff.
then I would simply dictate my perspective on fast travel as though it were the one correct opinion to have, and then move on. There are some who advocate this, saying that I would appear stronger and more confident in my arguments if I never entertained opposition. Again, I disagree. Well, partially. It is true that many would be both entertained and convinced simply with a deep voice and an air of charisma. Insert profile pictures of relevant YouTubers here. However, I don't look at my audience as people to be tricked into liking my work.
Yeah, a lot of people just use... Well, a lot of people get... You put yourself someplace you don't want to be? Cold. Yeah. In your... That was my beard you pulled. Go turn the heat on. Cause you cold. Okay, I'm back. Oh shit! How did I do this? Okay.
Between dungeons and quest locales in Oblivion. As you can see, there was a dialogue. Now, what would happen if I did not do that? If I took the common road of simply preaching with an authoritative voice? In that instance, then I would simply dictate my perspective on fast travel as though it were the one correct opinion to have, and then move on. There are some who advocate this, saying that I would appear stronger and more confident in my arguments if I never entertained opposition. Again, I disagree. Well, partially. It is true that many would be both entertained and convinced simply with a deep voice.
Yeah, a lot of
and
people
an air
just
of
put out
charisma.
videos
Insert
by
profile pictures of
being
relevant YouTubers
entertaining.
here.
Obviously, that's
However,
the
I don't
whole
look at
thing
my
about being
audience as
an
people to be
entertainer
tricked
and
into liking my work
influencer
with
of kind.
techniques of propaganda. If you want videos that simply preach opinions as the only true perspective to have, then dozens of videos that are both pro and against Skyrim already exist to validate your existing opinions.
Yeah,
When you
there is.
realize that over
Like, if you
80%
just
of
want like one opinion, there's always gonna be videos for it. There's people that say Skyrim is the dog shit of a game, and there's people that preach it beyond, without a doubt, one of the best games ever made. And then there's obviously people that think it's a mid-tier game. Like, you can get stuff out of all those videos just watching them, but like, God, I paused at the perfect moment for that horse just to be staring at my fucking face.
those videos have nothing to say, I'll still be here, keeping my gate open for you.
God, that horse.
Because
Is it floating?
I love you.
And
there you go. 700 words
that
that I
horse is
should not
fucked
have
up.
needed to say. Thankfully, I can make up for it, since I don't really have anything new to say about long videos. It seems that my peers and I have largely won that debate. Long videos are here to stay as long as people continue to have the patience to make them, which... Anyways, just as a heads up, if this is your first long video, when you need a break, you can comment a timestamp, which is generally more reliable than trying to have YouTube remember your place for you, which can often be off by more than 20 minutes. Obviously, I get metrics for this, but I don't think that's going to matter much if you watch enough of the video to need a bookmark. I also do not make these videos to be reliant on past works or having played the game. If you've seen my earlier videos or played Skyrim, you will be better off, but they are written to be self-contained. This is also going to be a fairly audio-focused experience. You
that's
can
right.
put me on the second monitor while you go play Morrowind.
No, I'm reacting to this, so
Gordian knots,
there's
the
no
solution
reason
is
to
cut
move it to a
straight
different
through.
monitor.
But we need the rope for later, so we have to untangle it. Let's start with all the versions of Skyrim that I played. We have the Legendary Edition, which is the release version of the game and all the DLC. We have the Special Edition, which was a 64-bit re-release. Owners of the Legendary Edition were given for free back in 2016.
Yeah, it was
we have
for
Skyrim
the
VR, which was just a VR port dumped out in 2018.
bigger consoles. I've never played Skyrim VR. It's one of the only
downgrade for the
versions I
Special
haven't
Edition
played.
released for the 10-year anniversary. So, unless you count each individual console release as being
I don't think I'd be able to
separate,
bring myself to play
which I
Skyrim
have
VR.
never seen done for any game other than Skyrim, we have 4 releases of Skyrim in 10 years. The only one I patched and modded was Skyrim VR, because it is quite literally broken. It barely functions on the Valve Index, which was released less than 2
Well,
years
I'm
later.
glad I've never played the
Bethesda
VR
abandoned
version.
Skyrim VR as it was a cynical
Oh,
cash
what the
grab on
fuck
the
is
VR
going on?
trend. Technically, if you want, you can count the Anniversary Edition creations as modded content, which is supposed to be the point of it, but Skyrim fans get really pedantic about how it's now official content because Bethesda placed a stamp of approval on it.
I view Creation Club as modded content made official, but it's like official modded content. They commissioned the modders for their work, yada yada. Probably underpaid them. But the Creation Club content is a mix of good and bad content. I feel like Creation Club content did good on mages. Fucking mages were shit before, and now they're a bit better. There's a lot more options. It could have been way worse, honestly. They added some broken weapons, some good weapons, some okay weapons. Okay and meh quests. The player houses, the new player houses are good. I like them a lot. Don't use them often though. I always go for the pre-built, the ones you can build yourself from home. I don't know why. The only way I like to play the game, I guess. I don't know.
Sold it for money. But this time I did not use the unofficial patch, crash prevention mods, or anything else like that. Part of that is that the unofficial Oblivion patch is fairly sensical with its changes, but years of no new games to fix for free has caused the unofficial Skyrim patch to stray into the territory of making gameplay changes, so I chose not to use it.
Yeah.
There was a time where I wanted to record the entire video in vanilla Skyrim VR, but having now played it, I can say you do not want to watch that. Instead, I settled for the next best thing, lengthy playthroughs in each version of the game. I played half the game on the launch version,
that's pretty
half the
fine.
game on the special edition with no Creation Club content, and an entire playthrough on the Anniversary Edition. It is pretty funny to try and say I hate these games when I played over 200 hours of Skyrim just to make a video as long as 2 work shifts. Obviously, we have to start with Helgen since that is where the game begins. Back when I made the Morrowind video, I hated Helgen. It's just such a long and boring introduction.
It kind of is very long, but I would say boring only because of going through it so many times. That's why the alternate start mod was made, because a lot of people hated going through the standard go through of going through Helgen, because it got boring because you made like 10 different characters, then you've gone through the thing 10 different times, and it's kind of long. The carriage ride, it's super long. But also, like, it definitely builds the world up. Like, it's a good start to the game. It could have been better, yeah, but for what it is, it's really good. It could have been worse. I mean, there could have been more like interactivity with Alduin.
Since then, however, I have played so many games that do introductions much worse that I've started to gain an appreciation for it. Why do a 30-minute forced tutorial cave when you can make the introduction last for 3 hours?
Yeah, no,
Skyrim does have a more cinematic approach than Oblivion, however. At the very least, you can say that you got straight into the game as soon as the cutscene was over.
Pretty much,
Skyrim replaces the pre-rendered cutscene with a cart ride. This is to create a potentially unbroken first-person perspective for the entire game, except there are moments that force you into third person.
Yeah, there's a lot of moments that force you into third person.
It's only 5 minutes, but those 5 minutes drag on a repeat playthrough, because there aren't details in this sequence to notice once you've completed the story. Morrowind made us a released prisoner, Oblivion gave us a life sentence, and Skyrim has finally decided to open with an execution. I mean, it's got nothing on Fallout New Vegas. New Vegas starts with a 5-minute cutscene that establishes the entire conflict of the game visually while also having the balls to put around through the player character's head at the end. These days, that's fairly normal, but I do find it weird that for a few years, games were obsessed with pretending like they are going to kill the player character, while simultaneously becoming
a lot
Skyrim's
of games
creation is
do
also
that.
much more streamlined due to changes in the mechanics. You create your character model, and that's it. There's never a class creation screen.
Yeah, there's no class creation screen like in, I've never played Morrowind, so I wouldn't have much say in how the character creation goes in that. Oblivion is very heavy on the details on Oblivion. You got your sign, your other things, like you have a lot you have to pick from in character creation in Oblivion. There's a lot of metagaming for certain.
The game only alludes to the differences between races, and those differences are mostly inconsequential. The only
the differences don't really
if you're trying
matter.
to do a very specific build, such as playing Khajiit for hand-to-hand or Orc for werewolves. Speaking of, a big point of improvement was in the character models. Bethesda really took the criticism
Yeah,
of
the character
Oblivion
models in
character faces
Oblivion
to
were
heart. It is
horrendous.
easier to make a decent-looking character in Skyrim than it was to make an ugly character in Oblivion. Not every character is a knockout, and there are far too few hair options, since hair is honestly what you're going.
Yeah, why is there not more hair options in Skyrim? There's like not. And they're not really good either. Like, Argonians are okay because it's different horn, like different horn variations, but it still could be better. There still could be more options. I mean, at the time, I guess they figured you don't be under a helmet 90% of the time, unless you're a mage using circlets. But even then, as a mage, you typically have a hood of some kind. You typically wearing a helm. Even the Dragon Priest masks give you a hood as well. It makes sense that they didn't give you many hair options, but I don't see why they wouldn't. Or at least they should give you different hair models, but give you an option in the option menu to hide your helmet, like it does in ESO. But as an MMO, and this is an RPG, it makes sense you'd have to like be physically wearing the gear, like the look wise. But I don't know.
When you play in third person. Most of the actual story of the introduction is better suited to discussing later. One thing I find disappointing is that the game does not trust you to walk to the execution block. It showcases what happens if you try to run away.
Yeah, it should give you an option to run. Like, even if like it kills you and then you just respawn back on the spot, like everyone attacks you, you should be able to run away. I don't see why you can't. I mean, it's said in the piece of like, oh, you were about to die and Alduin came in and essentially saved you, but also is the main antagonist. There's a way to introduce the main antagonist, but you can still have Alduin come in. Just as you start running away, he swoops in to stop like the final blow hitting you from an arrow or something. And then there goes all the like fire and shit, and you start to run the gauntlet like normal, but you have an option type deal.
Hey.
Halt!
You're not gonna kill me!
Archers! Anyone else feel like running?
But it doesn't actually let the player try to run away. You're permitted to cheat in this scenario and just script the player's death if they get too far away. Even after we are finally given movement controls, it is a while still until our hands are unbound and we are able to begin interacting with the environment. The game slow boils its mechanics. Here is melee, here is stealth, here are potions, here is thievery, here is magic, here is archery. Oblivion was pretty similar, but took note of what you did and recommended a class based on how you played. Since Skyrim is going for a...
Who's at my door? Is it mail? Yeah, it's mail. That threw me off. Give me a second, I'll be right back. Boxes for my wife. Is that the stars? Yeah? Yeah? Alright, let's get back into the video.
System where you play exactly how you want, it introduces the player to many things off the bat. So the real question is, what is not here? Because that would be something that hadn't received as much attention. For instance, pickpocketing. Crafting also isn't in the tutorial, but that's probably just because it would really slow things down. But most magic schools aren't in the tutorial.
Yeah, it makes sense why you can't craft in the tutorial, but I mean, they have you search barrels for potions. I would imagine it would work just as well to grab ingredients from barrels and use an alchemical station to brew 1 or 2 health potions and restore magica potions and go from there. Or even make a poison. Like if you want to do stealth. So then it's like stealth isn't really touch base until the very end of the dungeon where the bear is. And yeah, the magic schools, a lot of magic schools aren't brought in. You always start with a healing spell. And usually 1 destruction magic spell. We gotta at least find one. And the cell, like Sparks, usually is Sparks. But there's like no alteration, no illusion, no conjuration. You would think like you'd have a choice. Or specific bases start with specific type of spells, like spell class, whether it's you get a healing spell, every character gets a healing spell in flames. Why not have flames for like the Nords, because they can resist the cold, and then have like high elves have like a secondary destruction spell to start that isn't Sparks, or and then like have a dark elf have conjuration, and then Dunmer or wood elf with alteration or illusion. Illusion for wood elf would work well because you could have like muffle or even like calm or something like that. Like they based, yeah, I don't know, they had options but they didn't go for it, which is okay. What they did works, but usually when you're starting off on any playthrough, even if like you just want to dabble in magic a little bit, you have to use a majority of the gold you earn initially to go buy spells, which isn't usually the best. It's not the thing you want to do. And the spell tomes you find around in the world of Skyrim, they don't drop often. They only really start dropping more frequently from major enemies when you're like level 40, level 50. Because you're already high enough level and they're like, oh, you should have these spells. But even then, the spells that they give you from those drops are usually flame, sparks, or frostbite. Like, basic ass tier spells. It's like, why are you giving me these spells when you should know by now? I probably already have these. I've played for like 30 to 60 hours. I'm level 50. Why are you giving me all these old ass spells? It doesn't make sense.
Either. When we leave, we are deposited into the open world.
There's also no enchanting either. It makes sense there's no enchanting though.
The priority is on allowing the player to do what they want pretty much whenever they want to. Most people likely don't approach Skyrim the same way.
They should give you a magical item though, so you can disenchant it to get at least 1 enchantment at the end, like a low tiered enchantment, whether it's like 2%, like 10% fucking magic regen, or like plus 10 health, or even like increase 20 stamina, or whatever your race is, like maybe like 5% spell reduction on restoration or destruction or conjuration. Like, it could be really low tiered, like something you craft yourself with a petty ass soul gem, you know, like that way you can get an enchantment and you can learn the enchantment process once you get into Dragon Reach, because there's an enchantment table right next to Farengar. Because a lot of people, they go straight to do the main quest, or like at least get to Whiterun, the main city, because sure, you get to Riverwood, but you might go to Riverwood and do the Leakfall Barrow because you talked to the Riverwood trader and got the quest for his golden claw. So I don't know, but like they could have implemented enchantment into the tutorial in a way that isn't like, oh, here's an enchantment table, this is how you enchant stuff. No, here's an enchanted item. You don't know exactly what to do with it, whether to sell it or use it, or disenchant it, but they don't know about disenchanting yet. So there's a possibility they might sell it to the Riverwood trader before they even get to Dragonreach, which at that point, that's, you know, their fault for not, it's not really their fault for not thinking ahead, but like, there's an option to bring in enchanted items so they know what enchanted items are and what the potential of what enchanted items can do. But they don't. I feel like they should have. Maybe they'll do it in Elder Scrolls 6, but honestly, based on how a lot of people like the skill system in Skyrim, but also, like, they might have liked it, but also they found a lot of skills useless, or like, they didn't like having to get through one spell, like one skill to get to the next, because the next skill is what they were going for and not the one before that. So there's just wasting skill points, especially when there was a level cap in base Skyrim. Like, a lot of people didn't like the fact that they were wasting skill points to get to one skill in the skill line that they really wanted. Like, they're just wasting skill points. And like, a lot of skills, like, it'd be cool if you had like a radial system, kind of like in I don't know, you'd still have to branch out. I mean, yeah. I mean, you could take God of War's leveling system and like the circles, but like not have them connected, and you can buy specific perks. And instead of like getting 1 perk point, you get like 10 perk points, and you can spend 10 perk points on like a bigger skill, or put like 1 to 5 skill points in a base skill, like the increase the damage skill. That is like usually for like the damage skills for like a bow and arrow and your sword and two-handed, that are like you buy it once and you get 20% extra damage. You could do like you put 1 skill point in and that's 1% bonus damage, and you put a second skill point in, that's 2% at max, and it goes max of like 100 skill points for 100% bonus damage. And you could do the same thing like for the spell reduction. Like, you know how they have specific tiers in Skyrim. You have like novice spells of this skill tree, spell tree cost 50% less, and then apprentice, and then adept, and then expert, and the master. Like, you could have those, but streamline it down to where it's like at max it's 25% in general, like spell reduction for all spells of that that spell tree, or even like go up to 50%, like, because most of those skills are like 50% less, 50% less. And if you do just 50% less across the board, but as a incremental like point system where you put like 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, 5 points in, now you have 5% spell reduction, 50%. And then if you want to like purchase one of the better skills, you can put 10 skill points to like the flame, like say in the destruction tree you have like the frostbite, lightning, and the fire damage buff. That's like you can increase twice, and then you have that one above it that like the flame spells disintegrate enemies that are like 20% or less health. Like, you could have that perk be like 30 skill points, and then the damage be like 10 points per level, and then you can save up 3 levels worth of points to buy the big skill if you wanted to, instead of buying the smaller skills. That way you don't have to buy all these cheapest these useless skills that you're not don't like and you know you're not going to use. You don't have to buy them before you get to the better skill you want, and that way you're better, like, more metagaming your skills than anything by selecting and picking. And then you can feel like stronger that way, and that way you're not wasting a bunch of points on skills prior to it. I don't know. I've been thinking about this the past few days on like how to better do the skills in Skyrim, like this is the moderator, or I forget the one main use skill line overhaul mod is, I think it's the moderator. Then you have like or no, the ordinator. It's the ordinator mod pack, and you have like revamp skills. She's just trying to chomp on stuff. She's being loud. But like a different form of that, like even if it's just separate the skills to where you can purchase them using. Hey, you're fine. You don't need to yell. You don't need to yell. Stop it. You don't need to yell when you're chewing on stuff. Jesus, I'm trying to talk here. Alright, let's continue.
I would, doing all the factions in bursts, but rather interspersing it with side adventures. Skyrim has less variety than Cyrodiil, but each biome does feel like a distinct part of the world. You don't have to look closely to gauge what part of Skyrim I am currently in, while you need map knowledge to glance at a screenshot of Oblivion and guess where that is.
Yep, true.
Indeed, if any one...
Oh my god, give me 2 seconds. Oi! Here. Want to chew on that? Here, I'll give you medicine. Can you stop being so loud? I can't even hear the video I'm trying to watch. Fine. I get your teeth bugged you. Here, I give you a bottle. Hey lady, I know your teeth hurt, but you don't need to scream while you're trying to chomp on stuff. Alright. Sorry about that. Sorry about her screaming while trying to talk about the skill thing. But she wasn't really screaming, she was like, because she was trying to like nom on shit.
Was successful at Bethesda, it was the world designers. They'd moved away from the generated hype map and speed tree and gone back to fully handcrafting everything, spending years coming up with a system for creating a world like this that would even function on a 7th generation console.
It's very true. This world was massive for
the scale of what Skyrim accomplished with its world.
For the 360 and PS3, like this is one of the biggest games that came out on that console generation with the most shit in it.
But in VR, you have
and they even added DLC eventually, so like there's more to it.
Many areas I had perceived as being flat
they added all the
actually have drastic elevation differences. However, while I can handily say that this aspect of Skyrim VR impressed me, no other part did. The world is amazing, but what the world is filled with is not. Even subtracting all the hours of overexposure to the game's content, I was never really impressed by anything the game was showing me. The more interesting a biome is, the less content there seems to be to do there.
That's very true,
March,
yeah.
East March, Winterhold, and...
Yeah, by Riften and stuff, like where he's at, there isn't much locations to like do. It's all like environmental, like I get all this mountains, swampy lands, but there isn't really much there besides giant camps. There's an over obsession of giant camps. I don't know why they thought tons of giant camps would be the way to go fill up the world, but it honestly shouldn't. It shouldn't have been like that. They should have different things Like, even if it was a small bandit camp, I mean, they had those, but not like camps, like kind of like one bedroll or like 3 bedrolls around a campfire, and like you can shoot them from a distance and kill them because they all like unaware. You can run up on them while they're sleeping. Like, there's none of that. It's just giant camp. Like, just around this area, there's like 2 giant camps. But there's not like other. There is a bunch of caves in Skyrim. Don't get me wrong, with interesting layouts, but a lot of it is kind of dull and like overused. Like, after a while, like, they handcrafted quite a few things, and they're like, you know what? Let's just random generate this cave how it looks using our preset stuff, and then we'll just kind of sprinkle in some elements of like personal touch in there that makes it look like it's all handcrafted. Makes after a while a lot of dungeons look the same. All the Dwemer ruins look the same. Like, they're just long ass hallways. Like, later on in the video he talks about how, like, or the next part, how a lot of the dungeons and caves in Skyrim are just long hallways. And what he means by that is, like, it's one continuous jog. There's no, like, there's like elevation differences, but there's no splitting off. And the splitting off usually ends in a dead end. And then you turn back around and you continue down the hallway. Look left, there's a door to a small room. It's not like a series of rooms or like another long hallway. It is one huge hallway that just keeps going and going, with big double doors in the way that you open up to go in the hallway further. There's not a lot in the world.
Some of my favorite areas in the game,
to
which
fill
have
up.
almost no content to them. Meanwhile, more generic areas like Whiterun, Falkreath, and the Rift.
Yeah,
have
there's a
great
lot of
deals
stuff over here.
content. While it is handily a step up in world crafting over Cyrodiil, there is nothing that is distinctly fantastical about this environment outside.
Yeah, Oblivion, it's so sporadic on like locations, and there's not a lot of them either. Not a lot of stuff to explore in Oblivion.
Indeed, the world is covered in a layer of realistic grit, exemplified by the vanilla version of the game's bland color scheme. If this isn't depressing enough for you, consider heading inside one of Skyrim's mini dungeons so that you can combine the boring environment with the boring gameplay that constitutes the Elder Scrolls V. When people commit long hours to play Skyrim, it always comes with the caveat of mods. There are a few aspects of Skyrim which cannot be modified in.
I like mods, but also I like playing vanilla Skyrim a lot. I don't really like modding the game too much. That could just be I haven't had a chance. Like, I've tried modding Skyrim on my laptop, but Skyrim itself doesn't function well on my laptop. So I'd imagine trying to mod it would be even worse. I just fucked it up trying to mod it. And a lot of mods around the time of the anniversary edition being released aren't geared toward being able to play them with the anniversary edition, or even the special edition of Skyrim. Yeah, so like I like vanilla Skyrim a lot. Granted, there's a lot of issues with vanilla Skyrim. Kind of reason why I like the Creation Club content. Sure, it's mods, but it's. I feel like I was gonna say they're more fleshed out, but a lot of mods for Skyrim are fleshed out and really well thought off, and they add a lot of good content to the game, new content. I don't know. I like Creation Club content, and you could call me a sucker for it, but I like it. It's not gonna change. I like it a lot. I feel like it's feel like the Creation Club content now with the anniversary edition isn't intrusive. Initially, when the Creation Club content was added, it was very intrusive because like you would buy one thing and instantly you'd have a courier delivering you a letter, or you'd get a quest pop-up telling you to go to a cave and get all the spells that they just added into the game. Which I don't even know if that cave's still there in the game. That might be... I was gonna say, that might be good to go through on my Ultimate Legend playthrough, but also it might not because it's a cave filled with mages, and it's also in the northern parts of Skyrim where it's fucking cold.
In some way, and if you ever get bored of playing through the game's content, as I did on my very first playthrough back in 2011, there are even ambitious attempts at adding new content to the game to play through instead. But that raises a great question. If I got bored of Skyrim 11 years ago, then what are we doing here? To be honest, the allure of Skyrim for me is not the trap itself, but the psychology of those who have been trapped up to this point. There is something about Skyrim that can hold the attention of plebs who don't want to dip their toes in water any deeper, but also attracts the gaze of those who know it is a bad time, yet subject themselves to it anyways. In other words, the fact that all...
I wouldn't say it's such a horrible time. I feel like there's different ways to play it that will change. But also, like, ultimately at the end, you run into the same problem of doing the same things over and over again. Eat, you hungry butt. Why are you so cranky? You're fine. You're fine. Fine. You calm down. I feel like Skyrim can suck a lot at times. It can get boring. It can be repetitive if you don't change up your gameplay at any chance or way. Legendary difficulty definitely adds a lot, and survival mode adds a lot now that they added that, and there's a lot more aspects to it. Skyrim can be as fun as you make it to be. If you go into Skyrim trying to have a good time, you will have a good time. If you go into Skyrim being like, I don't know why I'm playing this, I don't like this game anymore, and you play it and you're like, I don't know why I played this, saying that it sucked, you know, like, you don't just have a bad time. For a while, I think I burned myself out on Skyrim when I was in high school. Like, either I was burnt out playing Skyrim, or I was just tired all the time because of my lack of sleep, or I was tired because I was depressed. There was a lot of things going on in high school that could have been a factor, but I would fall asleep playing Skyrim. I'd load it up, be wide awake, play 10 minutes, and the next thing I know, I'm like, the whole time, like, trying to stay awake and like, oh no, try and like stay awake to play. Like, I don't know if I was burnt out, just tired because I was getting like 30 minutes of sleep a day, if not every 2 days, or if I was depressed because I was depressed, and the one aspect of being depressed is you're tired. Emotionally and physically. So I don't know. I just feel like Skyrim is a game that it is what you make it to be. There's a lot of people that love playing Skyrim every single day, and they still do it to this day 10 years later. And they make new characters, play differently, play on different difficulties, add mods. I mean, you could say that Skyrim is bad, and that's why I put mods on it. Well, if you if Skyrim is bad and you're putting mods in it, why are you still playing Skyrim? At the base end of it, you're still playing Skyrim. Even if you add mods to it, you're still playing Skyrim. A lot of mods don't change too much. And even if you did a graphic overhaul, it doesn't change too much. It just makes Skyrim prettier. Doesn't make the gameplay any better. It doesn't make you want to play Skyrim more. A lot of people just say that Skyrim is bad and that you have to mod it for it to be good. But why would it be better if you added mods to a game? Like, why would a game just become good just because you added mods? It's still the base game. You're still playing Skyrim at the end of the day. You have fun playing Skyrim, you just don't want to admit it. Essentially, that's what it is. I don't know.
All these videos got made, and yet people still, to this day, feel a need to talk about this game is fascinating. It goes beyond the usual allure Elder Scrolls games have. Did we all die to that meteor in 2012, and we're all just stuck in limbo trying to resolve our earthly flaws? Moving on from Helgen, we escape into the world and find ourselves provided with near absolute freedom. Or so several Skyrim videos would say. Whether or not this is true is, from where I'm sitting, dependent entirely on how immersed you are in your character. Yes, if you look at this from the perspective of being a person playing a video game, you can go off in 180 degrees of possible exploration.
Yeah.
But if you approach this from a role-playing perspective, then there's no choice but to go to Riverwood. The introduction is crafted in such a way to make that the only viable option for a character.
Yeah, it really is. They streamline you into Riverwood. There's no 2 cents about it. Even if you go off to explore, you still don't go to Riverwood to sell your shit, which will then push you toward Bleak Falls Barrow because of the Golden Claw. And then after you complete Bleak Falls Barrow, you have the Dragonstone. You're like, why do I have a Dragonstone? You can't get rid of it. It's a quest item. So then you wander around and you're like, you know what? It's about time I go hit a big city. And you go to Whiterun. And then they stop you at the gate and you're like, oh, I'm here to talk about the dragons. And then you go into Whiterun and then you explore Whiterun. You go to the shops. You sell stuff. You're like, oh, what is this path up here? You go up and it's like, oh, this is like kind of the town hall or castle or something like that. There's probably an important figure here and there's probably some good loot to steal, or maybe there's more quests to do, or side quests, or people to meet, interesting characters. And then you go into there and then everyone stops. Everyone's arguing about the dragons, or I can't exactly remember, but they're arguing, and then you come in and then they stop you and then you get dragged into the conversation. And then once that conversation's over, y'all Balgriff brings you over to Farengar and it's like, oh, I have a task for you. And you're like, oh shit, I have this thing you're asking me for. And then you get pulled upstairs to go talk to the Jarl about a dragon at the watchtower. You go to the watchtower, fight the dragon, go back. The Greybeards call for you from the mountain, and they're like, oh, you should go talk to the Greybeards. You have this you unlock a new ability, shouts, and you're like, oh, is there more? Do I have to go to the Greybeards to purchase more of these because you've just been buying new spells because that's all you've been spending your gold on because you have no idea what else you can spend your gold on? And then you also become Thane, so you can buy a house in Whiterun, which will constantly bring you back to Whiterun. So that's your player home because 90% of players buy Breeze Home and they live at Breeze Home. And they don't really buy any other houses until they go to the other places. But a lot of those quests that make you Thane and other holds don't really tell you that you can become a Thane by doing a quest, by talking to people. And you don't know exactly who you have to talk to be awarded Thaneship, essentially. And like, maybe you have an ounce of freedom when it comes to once the Greybeards summon you and you you can decide to go up there, or you can explore. That's kind of a good point to like explore, because you have dragons now coming and attacking, which if you first time playing, you don't know that you don't have dragons attack you until you do the Dragon Rising quest at the Watchtower. Or you or you just like there's a lot. It's like a good point of like maybe you have freedom, but it's still trying to tell you, hey, go toward the Greybeards. You have this new ability. Like you might explore, find new shouts, and then fight dragons and buy the shouts with dragon souls. But honestly, most people go to the Greybeards because they're like, I got this new ability. Maybe they'll give me more, or I have to purchase shouts from them, like that. I think, only encountered one wood wall at that point from Bleak Falls Barrow, unless you explored. But yeah, it's very streamlined, kind of. I guess streamlined to a point, like especially if you're role playing. Very streamlined. If not, like RPG sense, you're a gamer, you played RPGs your whole life, you'll go into another direction 90% of the time.
This disconnect comes from whether Skyrim engages you as a role-playing game or as an action-adventure game. But even as the latter, you just escaped the tutorial with tons of loot that you would need to sell, which means a trip to town, which you have just been told is to the northeast if you follow your tutorial companion. Skyrim funnels you down the path to Riverwood and only pretends that doing anything else is actually a reasonable option. This is not a ridiculous game theory, Bethesda themselves used this sequence to advertise the game. We are given a tour through the countryside, the first stop being the Standing Stones. For the only time in the entire game, 3 of them have been erected in a single location. Standing Stones are a combination of birth signs and birth sign stones from Oblivion, rather than just a simple replacement. In Oblivion, you would choose a birth sign that would give you a number of powers or abilities in order to augment or enhance your class. This came from Morrowind, which itself came from Daggerfall's advantages and disadvantages system. The birth sign stones, however, were an idea taken from the Blood Moon expansion, where you could find stones in the world that would give you abilities. To give an example, the Atronek sign in Oblivion would fortify Magicka 150 points, provide 50% spell absorption, but would prevent passive Magicka regeneration. The Atronek stone would give you the ability to give yourself an additional 30% spell absorption and 20 Magicka for 2 minutes once per day. You did not have to take the birth sign stone correlated to your birth sign. But this was also an obscure mechanic, since most Oblivion reviews don't even mention these stones existing. Skyrim combines the passive nature of the signs with the exploration element of the stones. These mechanics are rewards for exploration. You see the icon on your compass and immediately recognize that there might be a cool new stone to find. At least until you actually find enough of them to realize they aren't that cool.
Yeah, a lot of the stones
the
are
bobbleheads
very
and magazines of the
lackluster.
Fallout series, trying to provide
A lot of the stones are very geared towards specific playstyles, and like a lot of them are just very lackluster. Like 90% of people who play Skyrim will only use one of the 3 standing stones from the beginning and never change another one, unless you get an Ethereum, the Ethereum crown, and then you'll just put one of the second standing stones on just to boost your XP gain. Honestly, no one really fucks about with any of the other standing stones ever. They're not that good, and they never will be.
Mechanical rewards for exploration in addition to regular loot. The failing is that there are 13 of them, and like the birth signs in Morrowind and Oblivion, a great inequality in their value. It's also a misunderstanding of their original mechanical purpose. Advantages and disadvantages were a way to mechanically define your character. Morrowind used birth signs because it was easier than recreating the full system, but Morrowind did not take full advantage of the opportunity provided. The Atronax sign is the best example of that. It provides a benefit but also a detriment that massively changes the way you have to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Oblivion should have added more signs like the Atronax, but instead Skyrim went the opposite direction. There is nothing more cynical than your introduction to the signs being the 3 archetypes of gameplay: warrior, mage, thief. This is the paradigm that Todd Howard forced the game to be about. Even the Afterlife has these symbols in the skybox. Did you like being a monk, or paladin, or priest, or battle mage, or spellblade? Well, too bad. Some hybrid classes are still possible, but some aren't because their core mechanics have been gutted.
Yeah,
The triad of core classes has been an element of Elder Scrolls for a long time, but with Skyrim, many things make it feel like a box you need to fit yourself into. You don't choose to wear robes for the benefits, you have to wear robes if you want magic to be functional.
Yeah.
These 3 standing
sucks.
stones each make the skills under their division.
Granted, you can, like, robes are good because you can get the boost from alteration by using perks from there. That boost increase your damage absorption from your like stone skin spells and stuff like that if you're not wearing armor. But I mean, you might as well just wear armor because you'll get more stuff. There might be some hidden values where you don't do as much damage with your spells if you're not using robes, but I'm not too certain. I haven't really fucked about to figure that out or not. Maybe I'll look it up at some point.
Level 20% quicker. That is a mechanical incentive to specialize. Say you are playing a character that uses destruction magic but wears heavy armor. Should you take the warrior or the mage? In theory, it provides a mechanical choice between whether you prioritize offense or defense, but in reality, it just encourages a change in playstyle. If you pick the warrior, you might as well switch to one-handed, it'll level faster. If you pick the mage, you might as well switch to alteration, it'll level faster, and robes will increase your offensive potential. The actual choice you're making comes later, which is whether you want skills to level 20% faster, or if you want another standing stone that might provide you a utility benefit. Funny thing, the Thief Stone covers the most skills, despite the fact that Skyrim has 3 playstyles, each owning 6 skills. Bethesda decided that the Thief would cover the archery skill, meaning that the stone has 7 skills that it benefits, while the warrior only has 5. Skyrim's developers talk a lot about the vision of the game being that the player can, at any time, pick up any skill they want to start using, and it'll just work. That laissez-faire attitude is a nice sentiment, but in reality does not work that well. Mechanically, Skyrim pushes the player to specialize. Anyone who has ever tried to pick up another combat playstyle mid-character can attest to that being the case. High-level Draugr exists to mechanically reinforce that you should not have tried switching to magic at level 20.
Yep.
We continue down the road to Riverwood.
Gerder's family first settled here as woodcutters a few generations ago.
High-level Draugr will fuck your shit up. Once you get to level 20 or 30, that's when you just get Draugr overlords, and you just don't get fucking butt fucked into nowhere. Like, there's no way around. It's really hard to change playstyles. Or it's just be like, oh, I want to level up two-handed, but I'm like level 30, and the only way to boost your damage at that point is to have your smithing skill high enough to reinforce, well, to temper your weapons to make them better.
Here as woodcutters.
So you won't have the damage boost from the skills.
You may not have realized, but during the gameplay demo for Skyrim, different dialogue was used for the NPCs. Arguably, in some cases, the dialogue is actually better in the demo than the game.
Get me down! It's coming loose. I can feel it. Now cut me down before anything else shows up.
The only explanation I can come up with is that Bethesda did not want the NPCs in Riverwood to have unique voices from the rest of the game, even if that dialogue was better. It is more realistic to say that once players reach Riverwood, they are free to truly go off on their own. You can rest and recover from Helgen while visiting the town vendor, but all roads that lead to Riverwood continue on to the main quest. Even if you try to take on side quests like helping out a local love triangle, that leads to the Riverwood Trader, which leads to Bleak Falls Barrow, which leads to the main quest.
exactly
if you
what
go
I
to
was
the
talking
inn,
about.
you can talk to the innkeeper to discuss rumors. One will point you at the Civil War quest line, one will point you to the Riverwood Trader, one will point you at the College of Winterhold, and one will point you towards the Dark Brotherhood. Of course, now that we've recovered, we can do whatever we want to, but it is important to point out how Bethesda is trying to make sure players go off to do the strongest content
Yeah,
first, instead
yeah,
of
for sure. They
allowing the
always
player
push
the
you
freedom to
toward
go get lost in the world. In Oblivion, you could run off as soon as you escape the sewer in pretty much any direction. The game begins in the center
guilds,
of the map.
essentially. They just
In
push you toward
Morrowind,
the
the main
guilds
quest
constantly.
outright told you to go do side quests and to get experience. Yet Skyrim is apparently the one that affords the player the most freedom. Right. Even if you want to leave town, your choices are to either double back up the road you already came down or leave to the northeast, which leads to Whiterun and, you guessed it, the main quest. Of course, thanks to the Creation Club, there are a number of other content options that get forced into the player's quest log.
Yep, no, that's
In every
very
part
true
of this
now.
video, I will be mentioning pieces of Creation Club content, usually relevant to the overall section, so I feel it's necessary to really introduce this, since I have a suspicion that many people listening don't really know what the Creation Club is. In 2017, Bethesda launched the Creation Club for Skyrim, which was an in-game store that sold add-ons developed by contracted mod authors. During the production of the Oblivion video, I decided I was going to feature this content in my future Skyrim video, and even include references to a few pieces relevant to Oblivion. My goal was to have a unique Skyrim video by including this official content that few people up to that point had even mentioned beyond its existence.
A lot of people don't
I
like
bought
talking
some
about Creation Club content.
credits, the currency you need to purchase to actually buy the content, a common tactic used to obfuscate the true price of the DLC.
Yep.
I spent $80 on this
I hate
bit,
them not
only
just
for Bethesda
having...
2, a few...
That's the thing about buying content from games that use a secondary currency to obfuscate the actual price. Just tell me this thing's gonna be $5. Let me just spend exactly $5 on this piece of content that I want. Why do you have to make me buy $10 worth of coins that will only give me one, either one expensive content piece or two small ones, and then be like have like 100 or 200 left over, but be 100 short from another small content? Or if say I have like 200 points, and if I buy another $5 worth, I'll have enough to get a $7 to $8 content piece. Just tell me how much money I'm going to be spending on content. Don't give me this weird currency to buy content that should just be fucking set in price. It's dumb. It's annoying. I hate it.
A few months later announced the Anniversary Edition. It would cost $20 on PC, unlocking all 74 pieces of Creation Club content.
Hey,
so,
you don't
in
need
total,
yell.
I spent $100
You okay?
because the price of the upgrade did not account for all of the creations that I already owned. In essence, Bethesda betrayed...
Yeah, the Anniversary Edition should have cost less for those who already own part of the Creation Club content. But I feel like they would just say, hey, we changed how the Creation Club content acted, so we're taking that into, like, if they explained it better when they launched the Anniversary Edition. They didn't really explain it, they kind of just released the Anniversary Edition as like, here's a new edition of Skyrim, has all the Creation Club content and Creation Club content yet to be released, now being released and given to you with the content patch. Well, like, content pack. And, like, they did change how a lot of these quests are now interactable. They're not as intrusive, like a lot of things you just find out in the world now that tell you to go to this place. I mean, there's still points where you reach a level and you go to a city and the courier brings you letter about a quest for Creation Club content, but like, you know, like they should have still like taken into account how much you spent already on Creation Club content, because I had like 40% of the Creation Club content. I still had to pay the full $20 upgrade. Like, it, I don't know.
Anybody actually dumb enough to buy Creation Club content, which I doubt was very many people anyways, but still.
I was
See,
a dumb
the
person
UESP
who
is
bought
made up
Creation
of
Club
super
content.
fans of Elder Scrolls, yet many creation pages
I didn't
were
buy the
fairly
weapons.
empty,
I just
so
bought,
even
like,
they weren't spending the money to pick
the
up this
homes,
content, even to make
like
pages for it.
survival
While I was
mode
playing
and
through
the
the Anniversary
homes.
Edition, I tried to play as much
And then
of
I
this
never
content
used the
as
homes.
possible, which
It
became
was a waste of money at the time,
difficult.
honestly.
Most of it is bad, so much so in fact that I consider paying for the Anniversary Edition to actually be purchasing a downgrade for the game. And after a point, I stopped playing it. The core problem of the Creation Club is laziness. Much of the content is just ports of old items, heavy reuse of existing
That's very
assets,
true.
or
A lot of it's
even for
old
stuff that
items
is
from
more
old
original,
games
insulting
that
nostalgia bait. Many
now
items are extremely
under-
overpowered, I assume based on the
Like yeah, a lot of them are nostalgia bait from like the weapons from old games, and then like dumbed them down or changed the properties of them to be because a lot of the Creation Club content you got right away, and they didn't take that into account. Now with the anniversary upgrade, they didn't change the properties because a lot of things are now like level tiered compared to where you could be level 1 and get like 6 minutes of Creation Club notifications, of quest like notifications and all that when you leave Helgen for the first time, and get like a shit ton of notifications like, oh, you have this quest, this quest, this quest, this quest started now. Like they should have taken into account now that they changed it in the Anniversary Edition, that they should have changed the properties of the actual items to make them a bit better.
justification that if it's going to cost real money to buy the Staff of Sheogorath, then the item better be powerful, no matter how easily you can get the item in Skyrim. However, the real issue is that the content is poorly integrated into the world. It has the grace of your Oblivion, Fallout 3, and New Vegas era of DLC, where content is thrust onto the player at the start of the game. That was a product of short-sighted thinking, where the developers figured players buying DLC would already be an appropriate way into the game, not realizing that the majority of people who ever play that content will be doing so on new characters in the future. Bethesda actually realized this with the Skyrim DLC, yet the Creation Club brings a return to that bad design. I cannot stress this enough. Do not purchase the Anniversary Edition of Skyrim. This is just Bethesda trying to recoup their...
I bought it 3 times. Look at you! Hey, you're fine. Did you show stomp? Oh, that's rubber duckies. Okay, that's not it. Hey, you're fine. I'm changing it. No need to yell at me. Hey, don't smirk at me. I know you don't try it. Oh. I know you don't try and run this household. I can already feel it. You're already yelling at me. I just imagine you in three years, you're gonna be screaming at me, telling me, "Oh, Dad, I need this, I need that."
Their losses on the Creation Club, which itself was a second attempt at doing paid mods. Now let's discuss Bethesda's next cash grab.
Virtual reality!
In late 2017, Bethesda began releasing some of their games in VR. Rather than selling these as additional DLC for the existing titles or as an alternate display method, they are instead standalone versions sold for full price.
Granted, I feel like they're not wrong to releasing it as a full price game. Like, again, because I feel like they would probably have to go about and change a lot of the game files to allow VR to work, and that's a lot of work, and obviously they need to be paid for that work, and that was time they spent like months probably working on it to get it to work. At least I hope it's like that. I'm not trying, maybe not full price $60, but like $30 to $40 per chance. That's a lot more reasonable. Granted, you could just wait for the VR version to go on sale. I don't know. I just feel like maybe not $60, but like 30 or 40. Just to recoup what they, the time they spent making a VR version of the game.
Skyrim VR is a great way to see the game from a fresh perspective.
A lot of
It
it's
is
like
challenging to talk about
scales
VR games with an
and
audience
stuff.
accustomed to flat games. What you're seeing is not a truly accurate representation of the experience. I have reviewed a VR game in the past, and the tricky thing is trying to communicate the sense of scale. It is impressive having to look up to see things that are above you. I realize that I often look at Skyrim more like I'm looking at miniatures on a table from a distance. Unfortunately, as amazing as this is, it is also modded. When I said earlier it was necessary, I absolutely meant it. Skyrim VR is awful. It's one of the worst games I've played in my headset. I was playing on the Valve Index, which was released less than 2 years after Skyrim VR. Despite that, Bethesda made no attempt to make their games actually compatible with the headset. We are talking about a company valued in the billions of dollars, which won't even provide support and update to their games 2 years after release. Even if you get the...
Yeah, they should fix that shit. 100%. Like, they've had time. They made the anniversary edition. They could have at least fixed the VR edition.
And running, the game's design is extremely basic for a VR title. They did as much as was necessary to get it to work in VR and moved on to doing the same exact thing with Fallout 4. It is blatantly a cash grab, and the greatest signifier that it is expected of Bethesda customers to modify their games to better resemble their liking. But in my opinion, I have no idea what people are talking about when they say that this game is amazing when modded. Pretty much the entire time I was playing Skyrim VR, I was wishing that I was sitting in my comfortable chair using a monitor, keyboard, and mouse to play. Virtual reality has provided me with some of the most amazing experiences I have ever had playing video games. I am extremely gifted with being able to play with full motion and smooth turning with zero motion sickness problems.
Lucky for him.
Yet Skyrim VR would give me a headache.
I get dizzy.
I realize that if dynamic resolution is turned on, the game is constantly changing the, well, resolution. It's like the game is a child, turning the knob fully in one direction, and then when it finds the end, going in the other direction. When I would look at character faces, they would constantly go in and out of focus. Dynamic resolution is a trick used to maintain a steady frame rate by lowering the image resolution whenever something big is happening. Skyrim apparently is just in a constant state of something big happening, so it's constantly changing the resolution when you have this option.
Yeah,
on.
that fuck with the eyes
is that the
constantly.
LOD distance is turned way down again to buy frames. This made the world look terrible, and the fade distances were also turned down drastically.
Yeah, it doesn't look that good.
Gestures that people
Even
do
just
while
base
playing,
Skyrim
that's
looks way better than this.
Interacting with NPCs by grabbing them, that's a mod. Does this werewolf mode look cool? That's a mod too. There's a reason you've never seen a Skyrim analysis done in VR, despite the amount of time there has been for one to be made, and how marketable it would be. A big part of that is the mechanics. I'll quickly go through the trio of playstyles. Melee is the least fun, even modded. Better systems of melee combat have come out, but even now there is no flawless system. The core of the problem is that in real life, if you hit someone with a sword, there will be a collision. That doesn't happen in VR. Damage is also applied flatly, which makes sense when playing with a controller.
Yeah, you
or
probably
mouse.
don't really feel like you're hitting somebody. You just feel like it's taking a wet rag and go plap, plap, plap,
there's
plap.
nothing to stop players from just casually swinging from the wrist. You know how it takes a lot of swings to kill stuff in Skyrim? Now imagine having...
Yeah, there should be dynamic feedback when you hit things with a weapon in VR. Like, whether it's just a rumble or just like the controller, the motion controller getting heavy the moment of impact, like you feel like kind of get like, I don't know, like tense or something. I don't know how you'd make a controller feel heavy when it's not. But I don't know, just the way to feel the impact, feel like you're actually hitting something, I guess would be the best bet. And like what you were saying, like the force of your swing should determine like your damage output, or even like it might determine if you're doing a heavy attack. But also, I know the triggers and stuff on the any like motion control game, like VR game, there's triggers and buttons on the controllers. So maybe it's still like, I don't know, maybe you still use it to attack, but honestly, it looks like you're still swinging and shit. So I don't know, maybe like harder swings are like heavy attacks and like flicks are more light. Like they should have definitely made it more dynamic. Like actually have like haptic feedback in the controllers at least.
To actually physically swing your arm every time you want to do that. Simply put, this problem is such a challenge to overcome that I honestly question why they tried. Fallout 4 VR works better as a basis because gunplay in VR is much more functional. On to ranged combat. Archery games in VR are not a favorite of mine, so I wasn't too big on using bows. Magic was probably the best playstyle in VR. Sadly, for reasons I'll be talking about in Part 4, Magic in Skyrim is not good.
Yeah,
While
it's
VR is a
not.
novelty, the amount of combat that
Like, it
Skyrim
works, but
requires
it's not
and the
good.
weakness of Skyrim combat in VR made the experience rather tedious. I would absolutely like to see attempts at classic Elder Scrolls style role-playing games done in virtual reality, but serious lessons need to be learned from dedicated VR games. And actually, I would rather that effort be put into making more flat games in that genre, since it's been pretty slim pickings out here for a long time. I wanted to get a ways in before discussing this particular topic, but it's important to mention. At a few spots in the video, I'm going to be discussing points made in other Skyrim videos. I tried this idea out with Oblivion, and it was great. It's not really responsible for ballooning the length of the overall product, though. If you cut all of it out, this video would still be longer. Back in November, I took the time to watch almost every Skyrim video ever made. However, I streamed this process in addition to a number of articles and interviews I was researching. I think what surprised people was how often I was defending Skyrim, but in reality I was simply putting stress on people's arguments in order to test them out. The stream series immensely improves the videos I do them for, and not just in the easily observable way of giving me arguments to counter. For example, it's a good reference for what the level and amount of gold a full playthrough of Skyrim typically gives. It's a perspective of what...
Yeah, you're seeing other people play and what they get, but also it could be determined based on mods too. So like, it's kind of up in there. A lot of people play with mods. They don't like baseline vanilla Skyrim, so the gold could be inflated through mods, or their XP could be inflated through mods, or the time that they take could be inflated through mods to get through the story, because maybe there's a story overhaul, or they're busy doing side content that wasn't part of vanilla Skyrim but was added through mods. And yeah, so like I feel like that determination could be heavily varied. You just have to talk to people, like watch streams or watch videos of people playing vanilla Skyrim, and it has to be vanilla, or at most the only mods they have are graphical mods or performance enhancing mods where like it runs smoother and stuff. Like nothing that would change the gameplay too much to where you get increased gold or increased XP, or you get less gold, or you get less loot, or you get more loot. Like, or merchants give out more gold for items, or merchants have more gold in their inventory so you can sell more loot, or more expensive loot. I feel like that perspective could be heavily influenced based on what kind of videos you watched, whether it was vanilla or not.
People will commonly do in their playthroughs. Rather than guessing what these values would be, now I have more data points. There are 1,000 other invisible ways that doing this has made the videos better, mostly because I was able to wholesale plagiarize entire sections from other creators. I have not actually written anything original in this video. It has all been copied. Alright, and now to check the comments section. Jokes aside, I mention this because I don't want people to get caught off guard when I talk about other videos and creators, but yes, I consider each step in my Elder Scrolls series to be a massive step up, and in part that is because I have studied the failures of other videos and trying to craft my own. I can say at least with certainty that I am providing a very different experience with this project. I certainly agree that most Skyrim videos don't really offer anything that guys like DW Terminator and Mr.
He's taking in other people's like their opinions and their videos and going through their analysis and using that as a basis to either create points to talk about or points of contention that will likely spring up a debate to where he can talk about his side or what he thinks, while also taking in what other people are having it, like saying. Like he said, he streamed watching other videos, like other analysis videos, and talking to chat and getting their point of view from it. So like it it's definitely boosting his analysis a step above normal analysis, because a lot of people only want to, echo their own opinion and what they feel like the game is, and how it runs, and like why is it good and whatnot. He's just taking in other people's opinions and using it as argumental points to either boost his opinion or to at least bring in different views to be able to argue those views, or like take what they said and be like, yeah, they had a good point, but like here's a different idea, or like different thought I had about it. Like he's definitely his video is just better that way because of it. A lot of people just echo their opinion to a chamber, or their view on. I mean, granted, that's kind of a lot of retrospective videos are opinionated, heavily opinionated, because it's literally someone's like, it's a review, and reviews are opinionated. That's the whole point of a review videos. They're not ever really. There's never really any review videos that is not opinionated, or at least has some sort of opinion behind it. There's hardly anybody fucking towing the middle line of any review video. I watch a lot of retrospective videos, a lot of review videos, so like I have an idea some of what I'm talking about when it comes to this, because I've seen a lot. Like I watch a lot of Salt Factory. Granted, a lot of his earlier content is okay. His newer content's a lot better. What? I can't change the ad without taking my headphones off. There you go. But yeah, like I watch a lot of retrospective videos, especially Skyrim retrospective videos. Like I've watched this Salt Factory's retrospective. These are ones I haven't seen. I think I've watched this one. Potentially that one. I can't remember. I watched this one. This one is in my watch later. That's something we're gonna watch as well. I like retrospective videos, and I'm gonna start watching them on Thursday with you guys, so we can talk about things. Just as reaction based. Other than that, let's continue for now.
Caption didn't already say back in 2013 and 2014. This is also the point that I should mention Private Session's own gargantuan Skyrim project. For those who don't know, we know each other. He appeared in a number of my streams, often as a chatter, but sometimes as a co-host. We've done a couple episodes of a podcast together, and he's in both this and the Oblivion video. What we're offering is two very different experiences, which is interesting given how much in common we do know. He got to see a lot of the same research I saw, yet our videos turned out very differently. And that's why I firmly believe there is no such thing as topic oversaturation, because despite being similar in many ways, we were still different enough to provide unique experiences. His video is very good, and I say that outside of nepotism. I would also rate Kretosis and G-Man Lives videos highly. In the middle pack, I would say that Mr. Caption and, oddly enough, Acerthorn are both videos I could recommend if you can stand Acer's bad audio production value. YouTube has undoubtedly played an important role in the rise of popularity of Bethesda, but I would also say the biggest criticisms against Bethesda have also become mainstream by that same method. However, I've been in this boat a long time.
That makes sense. Obviously, any fucking stage light put on things based on videos, because people will make videos about how bad a game is, or the bad parts of games, and people make videos of good parts of a game, and that goes for any video game. So games can be put on the limelight for good or bad reasons, because there's millions of creators out there that want to make videos, make their reviews, put their opinion out there, whether a game is good or bad, or talk about the good and bad aspects of said game. So a lot of games and a lot of companies have gotten rise to popularity. Take, for example, Vampire Survivors. That game jumped up in popularity because a lot of big streamers were playing it and saying it was good, and then caused smaller people to play it, other streamers to play it, YouTubers to talk about it, YouTubers to make videos about it. Then the game jumped up and it got nominated for an award at the Game Awards. Like, YouTube and Twitch and TikTok, pretty much any social media aspect that you can stream upon, that people stream games, it is good and bad for game companies. Yeah, because if your game's shit, people will say it's shit and everyone will know it's shit. And then people won't play your game because they have all these opinions thrown at them that the game is bad, and they won't ever play it and see for themselves. I miss the old days of rental centers for like games, like at GameStop. I forget the place by me that man, what is it called? But yeah, like you rent a game for 7 days or like 5 days or even for a night. Like back then, like YouTube wasn't really a thing for gaming. But people would rent games, try it for themselves, even if there were reviews on Game Informer saying it wasn't the best game or it was an okay game. IGN. I don't even think IGN had a standing point at that point, but Game Informer would have like reviews of games. Like people would rent games because you could. You don't rent games anymore. It's either you buy it or you watch a YouTube video about it, or watch somebody play it on YouTube to see if you would want to play it. But even then, after that point, if you watch somebody play it on YouTube or Twitch, you're less likely to play it because you've already seen all of the game and seen what it's worth, and you've watched that YouTuber or streamer and you had their opinion put in your head whether it was a good or bad game. Maybe if the streamer is preaching about how good the game is, you might play it yourself, or you might just continuously rewatch his playthrough of it or their playthrough of it. YouTube, like any social media site, has been both good and bad in the gaming hemisphere. There's really no in between.
Wanted to do a Skyrim video since 2015, longer than I've wanted to do a Morrowind video. I've even tried to do it before. I don't mean ill towards other creators, but it is curious that when held to the same exact standard that I typically hold game developers in my videos, that viewers suddenly got offended. Almost as though there is a double standard, that we're allowed to make criticisms against games but not against videos. In fact, it's worse, because as a video and audio editor, I could actually make even more informed criticism against a video than I could a game. I am not one of those people who think you need to have a college education and 5 years experience in the industry just to share a minor opinion about a game on Twitter. Everybody brings something new to the genre, and I'm a fan of this style of content. But we are a few years past bloated in this space. Undoubtedly, my Skyrim video will be dismissed for bringing nothing new to the table, simply by
a
the
lot of people
topic, title,
dismiss
and
it just because of the fact that it's another Skyrim video
being played to
it's
evaluate
been
if
10
that
years.
is an accurate opinion.
There's been so many videos put
there
out.
just aren't enough video analysts taking pride in their work. There have to be several boring Skyrim analysis videos for people to be of the automatic opinion that another one must be continuing that pattern.
I'm actually gonna leave it here. So I'm gonna put a point marker 37 minutes and 3 seconds for next Thursday, or for another day where I'm just like don't want to play a game for a bit. We'll watch some of this because it's 9 hours long, obviously. Or the next Thursday we'll just only watch this for the period of time instead of the other things. I just really wanted to watch the Hogwarts Legacy stream and then look at 2 other things. But other than that, I'm going to end the stream for now. Thank you guys for watching. We'll continue this another time. Alright, thank you guys for watching. You guys have a good rest of your day. Make sure you check out all my links. Yeah, toodles.